Good morning, world. Today I am a little disconcerted as I start this Good Morning Facebook Live. Last week I started this video challenge for myself 30 days of going on Facebook Live. And I decided to do the topic of acts of bravery, things that I have done myself that I look back and I say, yeah, that took a lot of guts to do that. And I found myself reflecting a lot about this over the weekend. And I realized something is a little unsettling for me. And I started thinking about some acts of bravery that other people have done, but they were more along the lines of, oh my gosh, that takes a lot of guts to do that. And two specific examples I'd like to share with you this morning in an attempt to understand why I am so uncomfortable with this whole topic suddenly. I thought it would be kind of fun. I thought it would be um, uplifting to say, wow, yes, I've done a lot of things. I have moved beyond my comfort zone and expanded it, as my friend Mike Harris says. Instead of just stepping outside of it, I have expanded it so that I'm now more comfortable in a bigger space. But I am rather riddled with thoughts of self-judgment, harshness, unkindness, not things I really like to admit about myself. And perhaps you have experienced this in the past. And so maybe today's talk will give you a little bit of insight into yourself as well. I'm clasping my hands. I am not comfortable doing this, but this itself is one of those small acts of bravery that perhaps we need to take to grow as an individual. So the first story that I would like to share with you happened back when I was a teenager, so 100 plus years ago. I started going to church when I was a sophomore in high school. I had been raised Catholic, but I only went as far as my first communion. My family only went to church for weddings and funerals. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I met a young woman that was my locker mate. And she introduced me to a family who started taking me to church. And I loved this church. I loved the the traditions. I loved the ceremonies of it. I loved that culture of just settling in. And the thing I loved most was the singing. We did not have a choir. We had a song leader who was one of the men in the congregation, and then just everyone sang. I really didn't feel comfortable with my singing voice, so I pretty much whisper sang. But there were people that just belted it out, and we had some lovely, lovely voices in our church. And it was a rather small church, maybe 50 to 100 people, small New England church. And the song leader was different at every service. These were just men that volunteered. They picked their favorite songs, or if the pastor of the sermon had a theme, they would pick songs that had a theme. Hey, Mary. And I loved that it was the same every week, but it was different. Well, there was this one young man, he was my age, so he was just a teenager at the time, and he would lead singing. But the thing is, he couldn't carry a tune. He couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. And I don't know where that expression comes from. If anyone knows, drop it in the comments for me, because I know I'll forget to look it up. He could not carry a tune. And every time I saw his name on the schedule, I would think, oh, that guy has got guts. How much courage does it take to lead a congregation in singing when you can't sing? And some of the other teenagers and I, we were kids, and adults would do it too, let's face it, right? We would make fun of him behind his back because he couldn't carry a tune. But when he got up there and he led songs, he might start us off in the wrong note or the wrong key, and then the tune gets mixed up. But once he got us started, because the congregation knew the words, they knew the tunes, they knew how to harmonize it, And we could make those songs sound so beautiful. It was just those first one or two notes where we, the congregation, tried to find out where we needed to be. And I always thought he was brave for doing that. But was he brave? Or did he just have, I'm going to get emotional here, sorry. No, I'm not sorry for it. My heart is coming out. What I saw as an act of courage, and let's face it, just guts, was a young man who felt so strongly and so passionately about his God that this was one way that he could show it, that he could share it. Why should it take what others perceive as courage to be who we are and to honor that which is in us? It shouldn't take courage. We should just be who we are and know that the world loves us anyway, that we can be safe and protected being who we are. But you have people like me that are passing judgment and saying, who the heck do you think you are, leading us in song when you can't sing? And of course, now I'm thinking of the Carpenter song about sing a song. The words are escaping me right now. But one of the lines is, don't worry if you're not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing a song. And that's what this young man was doing in church. Was it an act of courage? Or was it just his heart telling him, this is who you are, be who you are? So I admire, and many years ago I learned to admire this young man, because I discovered that sometimes just being true to who you are and not worrying about what other people are thinking is the most important thing you can do. That is your gift to the world. When we start worrying, I would never get up there. Well, now I'm going to have to qualify that, because never say never, and I've done things that I never thought that I would do in the past. A couple of years ago, my sister had a Halloween party and she had a karaoke machine hooked up. And I so badly wanted to get up there and sing karaoke. I have never done it in front of an audience. I don't sing in front of people. Well, I just did in this little thing, didn't I? And I just admire people that will get up there and sing karaoke, because they're having fun. They're just letting the songs and the joy of their heart come out. And I think that's amazing. Our problem is when ego gets in the way, when we start thinking about ourselves and what people will think of us. And that's when we hold back. But if we just stay true to who we are and follow our passions and express. Thank you, Mary. I love that. But when we just express who we are, that's when the magic comes out. And I look at this young man and I thought he was brave. He was just being who he was. And he had that confidence. He didn't need courage. He had confidence in himself. He had confidence in his higher power, in his God, to know that when he was in this room singing, leading the congregation in song, he was doing exactly what God wanted him to do at that moment. That's confidence. It's not courage. The other story I have to share with you is about, it's actually kind of a conglomerate of several women that I have known over the course of my life. Some of them have larger bodies, very buxom, very beautiful women. And others are, one specifically, I'm thinking, she's kind of skinny as a rail. But their fashion sense, I just look at it and I say, ooh, not flattering to your body at all. Not good for you. And I think of the show, it was on, I don't know, maybe 8, 10, 15 years ago, called What Not to Wear. I think it was on the Learning Channel, but it was on one of those types of stations. And these two fashionistas would come on. People would send in their stories, or other people would write in for people that had no fashion sense and say, oh, please, you've got to fix these people because of their fashion sense. And so there would be these total makeovers, and I loved to watch the show. But one thing that always sat wrong with me on this show was that I never really felt like these experts were honoring the people. And I've often wondered 6 months or a year later if these people reverted back to the way that they had been dressing, or if they kept up with the higher standard. So these women that I've seen wearing clothes that were perhaps what I consider a little too tight. Again, here's the judgment, right? Colors not matching, or colors not good colors for their skin complexion. This one woman, I saw her wearing this bright yellow frou-frou dress that was just very ruffly, and then she had cowboy boots on with it, and I just thought, ooh, no, that just doesn't work. She's a grown woman in a professional position, and she looked like a 5-year-old playing dress up to me. Yeah, self-judgment or judgment against someone else. What business is it of mine? Because when I saw her wearing those clothes, she looked happy. She looked confident. She thought she was a rock star, just like a 5-year-old does when they're playing dress up, right? The issue, I'm learning, very uncomfortable to say, the issue is mine. And if you're looking at people that way, you're judging what they're wearing and saying, oh, that takes guts. If you've ever said, that takes guts, I could never do that, you're making it about yourself and you're passing judgment on them. Because what if that yellow dress and those cowboy boots, those just make her feel so good? What if that yellow dress was a dress that she wore at a friend's wedding and it was one of the happiest days in her friend's life? And this woman was there to celebrate and recognize that. So when she wears this dress, she feels like there's magic happening in the world. And the cowboy boots. What if those cowboy boots, she just needed something comfortable to tromp around in that day. She had a busy day. She was going to be on her feet all day. And she just wanted something that made her feel like she could get things done. And she looked in the mirror and she thought, do I wear the dress? Do I wear the cowboy boots? Which is going to make this day great for me? And she said, well, if the yellow dress is great and the cowboy boots are great, what if I put them together? Oh my goodness, that's unbeatable. And so she wore them together because she felt the energy and the power from both of those pieces. And then you have people like me looking and saying, what was she thinking? What was she thinking? Maybe she was thinking, I've got this. I can pull this off because I'm hot stuff. I know what I'm doing. I know how to do it. I know how to help and tell other people to do it. And these clothes, this is my power outfit. This is my Wonder Woman costume. But people like me are judging, saying she's brave, she's got guts. No, she's just got confidence. And maybe when she put them on, she looked in the mirror and she had a little bit of self-doubt. And she said, I'm going to do it anyway. So maybe there's a combination of confidence and courage. The other woman that I knew who was a larger woman, and she would wear some of the skimpy, frilly, and as another woman looking at her, I would not say that they were sexually provocative. They showed cleavage for sure and showed some thigh, but she never looked trampy to me. And again, there's that judgment, right? But I always looked at her and thought, ooh, you're so lovely and you have such a lovely personality. Oh, someone's going to think I'm trying to fix them up on a blind date or something. But she just is this amazing young woman that part of me always wanted to be like. She's so comfortable in her own skin. And it shows in the clothes that she chooses. Before I got to know her well is when I would pass those judgments and say, ooh. But then as I got to know her better and I saw her more often and saw that this was her style, these clothes made her feel good. These clothes made her feel like she was rocking the world. And I thought, yeah, I wish I could be like that. And so these people that I thought took courage to do what they were doing, now I'm more inclined to think they just had the confidence to be who they are. And yes, I envy that. And I wish I could be more like them because I do tend to live with my ego a little too much and worry about what others will think. An example, at a wedding of my brother-in-law many years ago, the bride and the groom were doing the wedding dance. And I noticed that the buttons on the back of her dress were coming undone. And I noticed this, and the mom in me, the panicker, the worrier in me, wanted to go fix this dress. But I didn't have the courage because people would see me. They were moving on the dance floor. So how do you kind of get up there and fix this? It was the wedding dance. But yet in my mind, I'm thinking, what if those other buttons let go? What if my brother-in-law were to reach up and just run his hand up along her back, and if they were released? Which would be the worst situation to be in? Having someone go up there and fix your dress, or have your dress kind of pop open? I didn't have the courage. I couldn't do that. I could not put myself in front of, this family gathering and do that. So I mentioned it at our table. I kind of leaned over and whispered to my sister-in-law and said, looks like her dress might come undone. What do you think? Well, this woman, who is also someone that I admire deeply, she got up right away, without doubt, without hesitation, and she walked out onto that dance floor and she just said, excuse me. And she just quickly, in seconds, buttoned up the back of the dress and then returned to her seat. Crisis averted because she took action. I thought she was so brave. For her, it was probably just who she is and what she does. She didn't worry about what everyone else would think if she interrupted. She saw the problem. She went and fixed it. So here I am. I'm still left and I'm still clenching my hands. I have been for the entire duration of this video because I'm not quite sure what that says about me as a person. But it's something I'll be working on, something I'll be looking at. The next time I see a situation like that, I hope I will be quick to respond without thought to self, rather than sitting there wondering what people will think if I were to do something to resolve a potentially bad situation. So today I encourage you, no, I'll challenge you. Take a look at some of the people that you have or some of the occasions, but it most likely will be related to people. Well, of course it will be because we're talking about acts of bravery, unless your dog and your kitty have been brave. So think of the times in your life when you have said to yourself or commented to other people, wow, that takes guts. And look at your thoughts a little bit deeper, a little bit closer. Examine your emotions of why you're saying that. Are you passing judgment on that person for a choice they're making? Is that person just being who they are? It's part of their pattern. It's part of their makeup. It is who they are, and they're just being themselves. And if you decide that that's the truth and that's the case, stop saying they're being brave, because for them it's not an act of bravery, it's just an act of being themselves. It's having that self-confidence to be who they are and not care what the world might think. And if you can support them on that and always be kind and always be gracious to them and accepting of them, That is the best way you can respond to their acts of courage, to having the guts to do something. And of course, now the mom in me, and the disclaimer is sometimes people do things that are, well, you think of the extreme sports, and some people, it seems like they're crazy. I wouldn't have the guts to do that. In those cases, yes, perhaps we don't have the guts to do those things. And those perhaps are seeming acts of bravery. But at the same time, if these people have this innate desire to do, when snowboarding first came out and they do all of these Olympic level, the twists and the turns, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, they're 50 feet up in the air, and they're grabbing the snowboard and they're doing all of these flips and turns. That's crazy. Really got to have guts to do that. Oh my gosh, they're so brave to do that. That's part of who they are inside. And they're just living life to their full potential, their dreams, what they imagine themselves capable of doing. I don't know that it's an act of courage, an act of bravery to be yourself, except for when we live in this very judgmental world. So today, I hope that you have the courage and the confidence. I hope you have the confidence to be true to yourself and carry that with you for the coming days, the coming months, the coming years. Being yourself, that's the best gift you can give to yourself. So that's my rambling for today on courage and bravery. Sometimes it's not quite what it seems to be. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.